You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, happy Mars Day, and happy birthday to some famous Tauruses, including Christina Hendricks, James Brown, Rebecca Hall, Eric Church. That's about it. Amy Ryan, she's from The Office. Holly from The Office is a Taurus. Bing Crosby would have had a birthday today. Frankie Valli. And happy birthday to you if you are a Taurus or if someone you know and love is a Taurus. So before we dive into today's transits, I think we should address the news that is sweeping the nation really quickly. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably haven't been on social media in the past 12 hours, but let me just pull this up here. A leaked Supreme Court draft would overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, I'm not here to tell you my opinion on this or preach what you should believe at all. That's not what I'm here to do. But I think there is something we can link this to astrologically. And this is something I talked about if you were watching back on April 14th when Lilith moved into Cancer. So you can actually go back to the video on April 14th on my YouTube channel or on my website, thespiritualjournalist.com, if you want a little bit of a deeper dive into Lilith and Cancer. But just really briefly, you might remember we talked about this about 2 weeks ago. Lilith is the black moon. It's known as that part of us that's rebellious, maybe even our inner bitch that rises up when we feel like we're being controlled or oppressed. And with Lilith moving into the sign of the divine feminine of Cancer for the rest of the year, I forecasted and we talked about reproductive rights and that being an issue that's coming up more and more over the course of the next year. You can literally see what I wrote a couple weeks ago on our screen here. So we likely will experience people speaking out more, expressing their power more, reclaiming their power around reproductive rights, just a greater focus on physical bodies in general. I wrote themes of oppression of women's bodies in particular will likely come to light. Reproductive rights and issues surrounding motherhood could take center stage. So, it's kind of right on time with the transits that this is happening, unfortunately. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Like, this isn't something that I think is going to go away overnight. This is a theme that we'll continue hearing about because Lilith is in Cancer through, I believe, the beginning of January 2023. So this is something that will likely be coming up and discussed and on center stage, on social media, on the political stage for many months to come. And sometimes I think, regardless of how you feel about this, I think knowing that there's an astrological connection can kind of help at least me feel like, okay, this is all happening in alignment. This is all happening for a reason. This is all happening for a purpose, because I know a lot of people have been really upset just hearing this news. So just know this is all part of Lilith and Cancer over the next 9 months, really putting the focus on reproductive rights. All right, now let's get into today's forecast because we have a really beautiful transit to talk about today, and definitely one that's going to amplify the transformation that we're already going through this eclipse season. So we're talking about Jupiter forming a sextile to Pluto. And this isn't a transit that happens overnight. Both of these planets move fairly slowly. So that means, they're connecting to each other in this nice 60-degree angle for about a couple weeks because they, like I said, they move so slowly that they'll stay within this angle to each other for a while. And let's pull up a chart and I'll show you what this looks like. So Jupiter over here in Pisces. Jupiter loves to be in Pisces. It's a very abundant, hopeful, optimistic energy here. Jupiter is at 28 degrees Pisces right now. And Pluto has been at 28 degrees Capricorn for some time. Remember, Pluto just stationed retrograde too during this connection to Jupiter. So from April 29th to May 8th, Jupiter and Pluto are within this 60-degree angle to each other. That's just within the 0-degree orb. So we're really experiencing this transit throughout eclipse season, honestly. And like I said, it's just amplifying the power of transformation. Today in particular, or just in this really finite period when the two are locked into a 60-degree angle from April 29th to May 8th, we could experience spiritual rebirth, spontaneous transformation. Jupiter moves, not orbits. How am I saying this? This is not me not being a scientist. Jupiter's orbit isn't fast, but its rotation is very fast. In fact, let me show you. This is a clip that kind of went viral, but it's really interesting. Let's see, planets, rotation and speed. Because I saw this clip and I was like, wow, this is actually really powerful to understand why Jupiter is the planet of abundance, why it has this spontaneous nature to it. So let me see if I can show this to you here. It's loading. Okay, look at all the planets moving, how quickly they're rotating, and look at Jupiter. Like I saw this meme that was like, what the F, Jupiter? Like what is going on there? So Jupiter moves, it spins so quickly. There's a lot of energy that Jupiter puts out. And the reason I bring this up is because when we're talking about a sextile between Jupiter, or really any connection to Jupiter and any other planet, we're talking about a surge of energy. Abundance, right, is what Jupiter is known for. Spontaneity, just a lot of positive energy, right? And so when Jupiter forms a sextile to Pluto over the next couple weeks, our own personal power is amplified. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, but it also rules our power. And so our personal power can be amplified, making it easy to influence others as well. But because Jupiter is the great benefic, our influence will likely be positive and generous. So if you're really feeling yourself over the course of these couple weeks, think about how you can share the good vibes with other people. Think about how you can project that influence, that positive energy out into the world. Honestly, a lot of times I reference Planets in Transit by Robert Hand for the transits if I'm looking for more guidance. And I was reading it last night and this quote just popped off the page for me. So I want to share it directly with you. Robert Hand says, either this transit will transform you by transforming your surroundings, or you will become the vehicle through which your world is transformed. So this is a very transformative energy. And like I said, we're already in eclipse season. There are already rapid shifts happening, but with Jupiter forming a sextile to Pluto, it can help us see those silver linings and have those higher realizations of the transformations that are happening for us, not to us, for us. Change is here. Change is upon us. And Pluto is the alchemist, and this is really just inviting us to trust and surrender with Jupiter in Pisces. Trust that the transformation that is happening is for your highest good. Lean into the transformation that is happening and trust that it's all happening for you. That's really the message of Jupiter forming a sextile to Pluto. And it can definitely help us remember that there are other energies at play. You know, eclipse season, even though this eclipse on Saturday had a very positive connotation, you might have seen a lot of content leading up to eclipse season, like brace yourself, you know, shifts are coming. But remember, change is a good thing. Change can be a really positive thing. This world needs a lot of change. So this nice supportive angle between Jupiter and Pluto reminds us of the positive sides of change, the positive sides of transformation, and allows us to realize and step into our own power more easily. The bottom line here is we're transforming, and it's beautiful. That's really all you need to know about Jupiter forming a sextile to Pluto. All right, let's talk about the moon now. So the moon is still in Gemini, and when the moon is in Gemini, it makes us more curious, more social, maybe a little bit more chatty. We're more likely to process our emotions or, you know, any of these transformative feelings that are coming up through talking to others, writing, journaling. You might feel inclined to journal today. Something I've noticed as well with the moon in Gemini is like kind of trying to find a plan or a routine a little bit, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury wants to have like a step-by-step plan, a daily routine. So you might be noticing with the sun in Taurus, the moon in Gemini, it's like, okay, where are we going from here? Maybe not necessarily long-term planning, but just like kind of thinking day by day. Do we need to change anything? Do we need to shift anything here to be more grounded, to be more stable? However, our mood can change very quickly under a Gemini moon. So just keep that in mind. And the transits we're experiencing today can certainly affect that as well. So just stay open to new information, stay open to processing things with others, connecting with others under the Gemini moon. Okay, I'm curious though, if you're watching me live, let me know what your mood was like first thing this morning when you woke up. Me personally, I woke up with like a surge of energy, and the moon was squaring off to Mars right as I was waking up, 6 a.m. Pacific time. So you might have experienced kind of a rush of energy, even a surprising rush of energy when the moon and Mars squared off. Now, that energy can make us more impulsive, restless, reactive. So if you woke up slightly irritable, you can thank Mars for that. And this energy throughout the day really can manifest as feeling a little bit out of control. The moon in Gemini is a little bit erratic, and Mars in Pisces wants us to go with the flow, act from a place of compassion and empathy. But that can kind of leave us feeling frustrated because, like I said, the moon in Gemini kind of wants to have a plan and to understand things, to have clarity, while Mars in Pisces is like, just do what feels right. Just be intuitive about it. And that can kind of create a clash between our inner knowing and our rational knowing, if you know what I mean. So with Mars in Pisces, it is easier to act from a place of empathy as long as we really slow down long enough to align with our intentions. The Gemini moon wants us to speed things along, jump to the next thing. Like I said, it's very sporadic. So when the moon squares Mars, this can just drum up, like I said, some frustration, some irritation of feeling like, I don't know how to use this energy. I want to kind of control things, but at the same time, I know I need to go with the flow. So if you're feeling a little bit irritable, just be mindful of not projecting that onto other people and maybe not taking it out on other people. It can be easy to do when the moon squares off to Mars. Quiet and sleepy. I'm always quiet during the Gemini moon for some reason. I have Gemini rising. What's really interesting for you is, depending on what degree your rising is at, the moon is probably transiting through your 12th house right now. So the beginning of the Gemini moon transit is likely in your 12th house, and the end of the Gemini moon transit probably crosses over your ascendant and kind of brings in some fresh energy. So the fact that you're sleepy is kind of right on track with your chart and with the moon transiting through your 12th house. Love that. The Gemini moon turns everyone into who I usually am. Yeah, so everyone else is like chatty and social and kind of analytical, and you're just hanging out in your 12th house for a little bit. But I have a feeling over the next couple of days, your energy will pick up and you'll feel a little bit more like yourself when the moon moves into your first house. All right, so Moon squaring Mars, just beware of being impulsive and reactive. But shortly after that, the moon formed a sextile to Chiron. So take a look at our chart here so I can show you. The moon at 14 degrees in Gemini right now, squaring off to Mars in Pisces. There's what that looks like. Now the moon is also forming that nice sextile to Chiron in Aries. So this tells me that if there are emotional outbursts or frustrations that come up, they can actually help push us along our healing journey. They can kind of show us what still needs healing, or sometimes we think we're healed, sometimes we think that we've moved past something, and it's almost a surprising reaction. I don't know if you can relate to this, where it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was still in there. That still needed to be worked through. You know what I mean? So those irritations can be a direct line to what still needs to be healed. And with such transformative energy right now, with Jupiter forming a sextile to Pluto, it creates this setting for spiritual transformation, for healing transformation, and Chiron is here to support that as well. So that's all that's happening today. In the background, let's see, we have the sun forming a sextile to Mars. This is actually a very long transit for the sun and Mars because they're moving at a similar pace right now. So the sun is at 13 degrees in Taurus, Mars is at 14 degrees in Pisces, and they will form an exact sextile on May 7th. They're kind of transiting together for a while. And again, this is kind of helping us act from a place of compassion, act from a place of empathy, and our actions are supporting our expression over the next week or so. Tomorrow, we'll talk about this more, but Mars is forming a sextile to Uranus, and we're starting to feel that energy today. So you can see Mars in Pisces forming a nice supportive angle to Uranus. You'll also see the sun is going to be conjunct Uranus. Let's see, what day does that happen? That's happening on April, why isn't this coming up? I'll have to look into that because it's not showing here on my normal chart, but we know it's coming. It's happening soon, right? So I think that's going to happen in the next couple days. Anyway, this Mars forming a sextile to Uranus, like I said, we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but that's definitely going to help us change our actions a little bit, or act a little bit differently, do things a little bit differently, maybe lean into that flow a little bit more than we normally do with Mars in Pisces. Let's see. What are we saying here? I love modern astrology, but do you have any resources you can share to learn more about traditional? I do have an astrologer I can point you to on Instagram that I know she practices traditional astrology, or I should say they practice traditional astrology. So I will put their handle in the comments right now, just on Instagram. That's the only person I know of who, I believe that's their handle. That's the only person I know of personally who practices traditional astrology, but I know there are so many people on YouTube. I'm sure if you just typed in traditional astrologers, someone would come up. And there's a lot of crossover between the two. So, you know, the main differences, I believe, between traditional and modern astrology is rulership. So because traditional astrology, when it was being formed or studied, they didn't have knowledge of all the planets in our solar system. So a lot of the planet rulers or the sign rulers are different because, for example, Aquarius in traditional astrology is ruled by Saturn because Uranus wasn't discovered yet. Pisces in traditional astrology is ruled by Venus because Neptune wasn't discovered yet. Scorpio in traditional astrology is ruled by Mars because Pluto wasn't discovered yet. So you see what I mean? And I try to take that into mind and incorporate that into these forecasts as well. Of course, I definitely have a modern approach, but I try to keep that in mind for you guys. So it's all encompassing. So we can all pull a little bit of something from it, regardless of exactly what kind of astrology we like to study or follow. So yeah, that's what's going on today. The moon's in Gemini. Get out there, get chatty. Remember that we're all on a transformative journey right now, and lean into that transformation. It's going to be very beautiful. let's do an overview and then we will pull a card. Oh, good. I'm glad you found that interesting. If it's piquing your interest, keep following it too. Maybe traditional astrology resonates with you more than modern astrology. I think it's all about finding a practice that works best for you. And let me know if you'd be interested as well. Something I've been dreaming up this year is to do a series with a bunch of different other astrologers about all the different kinds of astrology. So not just traditional and modern, but Vedic, orrery, cartography. I never know how to say it, but I'm sure I can find someone who knows how to say it and can teach us about it. So that's something that I've been keeping in the back of my mind, and I want to do at some point this year. All right. Oh, good. You would love that. All right. I will keep that in mind. So today, Jupiter, the planet of abundance and optimism, is forming an exact sextile to Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth. But in reality, these two planets are locked into a 60-degree angle between April 29th and May 8th, really amplifying the energy of transformation this eclipse season. This could be a moment of spiritual ascension or awakening for many people, a moment to step into your own personal power and allow that transformation to kind of wash over you. Either your surroundings could transform you, or you could become the vehicle for transformation, and you could actually affect the people around you as you step more into your power. The beautiful thing about this transit is that our effect on other people is benevolent and generous. And so as we step into our own transformation, that energy is going to affect the people around us. Really lean into the transformative vibes, allow the changes to happen around you, and try to go with the flow as much as possible right now. The moon is still in Gemini, and you might have felt a little irritable or just a rush of energy first thing Tuesday morning as the moon squared off to Mars in Pisces. This could make us feel an intense need for control or make us feel like we're a little bit out of control. And so try not to let irritations or frustrations get the best of you. If you do find yourself getting a little worked up, ask, where is this coming from? Because shortly after, the moon forms a sextile to Chiron, the wounded healer, and any frustrations that do arise could lead us to a healing moment, especially with all of this transformative energy working in our favor today. All right, let's go ahead and pull a card. I'm going to pull from the Work Your Light deck by Rebecca Campbell, one of my favorite decks. Oh, good, Maribel. I'm glad you would be interested too. Probably not for a couple months because, to be honest with you, got a lot going on over here, but it's something I've already pitched to a couple other astrologers and definitely something I want to do. So I'm glad you guys would be game for it. All right, this is your time, as always, to ask your own questions, either to God, Spirit, the universe, or to me if you have any other outstanding questions about the forecast today. And let's go ahead and see what is going to come through. What do we need to know today? Oh, that card wanted to be pulled. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. But what does it mean? All right, let's see. Definitely feeling, well, I flipped right to the page too. Definitely feeling like this is asking us to call on our ancestors for support, but let's see what Rebecca Campbell says about it. The Council of Light is a team of benevolent beings who are here to assist the raising of consciousness of the planet. They are here to help you achieve your soul mission and are guiding you every step of the way. However, because we live in a world where free will reigns, they cannot help you without your permission. If you would like their assistance, it is time to ask them. They can help with all kinds of requests. Nothing is too big or too small. Think of them as your personal team of helpers in the spirit realm. They are willing and ready to step in and get to work. What would you like help with? What tasks would you like to delegate to them? The Council of Light is a team of ascended masters, light beings, angels, and guides devoted to the rising of Earth and all humanity. If you are a light worker, it is from them that you receive your personal mission. Like a spirit world United Nations, they want to thank you so much for doing this work and devoting your life to uplifting the planet. Pray to them for clarity and guidance regarding your personal mission. put in your requests and let them get to work. I love this so much as we're talking about transformative energy, as we're talking about the potential for rapid ascension with Jupiter and Pluto forming a sextile to each other, because I'm trying to hold this up to my iPhone here, because we can't do it alone, right? It's naive to think that we understand the inner workings of the universe or what's happening on a broader scale to humanity. So this card reminds us, if we feel lost at all, if we feel unsure about the person we're becoming or the direction we're heading in our own transformation, that we have support always around us to guide us. And sometimes it's just as simple as asking for that support to receive the message you need. And today could be a beautiful day to do that with Jupiter and Pluto forming a sextile to one another. It's funny because I haven't been as consistent about my journal practice lately, but I woke up this morning and really just wanted to journal first thing. And that's something I wrote down. Like, I received guidance from my spirit guides, my ancestors. So I love that we pulled this card today. Really feels like you're receiving that guidance, right? Let me know too in the comments whether you're watching live or you're finding this video later. If you have a regular connection or you receive signals from your spirit guides, from your spirit team in other realms, if you will. If not, today could be the day to open up that connection. There's really powerful energy for that working in our favor today. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Transits Today. I will be back in just about an hour and 20 minutes or so with a new episode of The Spiritual Journalist. My beautiful friend Tuesday of Tuesday Says is joining me, and we're talking all about pleasure and personal power. We're talking about manifestation through pleasure. We're talking about spiritual ascension through pleasure, and the power that self-love has, whether that's sexual love, physical love, or spiritual love. So it's going to be a really beautiful, deep conversation with a really beautiful soul. And I hope you can join us live right here, wherever you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter at 11:11 a.m. this Tuesday. But if you can't make it at that time, you can find the episode anytime on YouTube or when we release it as a podcast on Apple and Spotify. Just search The Spiritual Journalist. But definitely, if you can, come, bring your questions, bring an open mind, and know that we're going to be diving into some vulnerable topics here. So I encourage you to hold some space for that. Be willing to hear some maybe things that might be uncomfortable for you. Probably are going to be a little uncomfortable for me. Just going to be real with you. So yeah, I hope to see you then, and we'll be back tomorrow to talk all about, what was the transit? What's that transit I just said? Oh, Mars forming a sextile to Uranus, and we'll also figure out when the Sun and Uranus are meeting up, because for whatever reason, the tool I use is not including that in the forecast, and you and I both know that is coming in hot. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. I hope you have a beautiful Tuesday, a beautiful Mars day. Remember, all of the chaos, all of the shifts, all of the transformation is happening for you, not to you. And our affirmation of the day today is, I allow the waters of change to wash over me. I allow the waters of change to wash over me. Trust, believe, that everything is happening for your highest good. I'm so grateful you showed up for yourself today. I'm so grateful you showed up for our community today. I love you. I hope you have the most beautiful Tuesday of your life, and I will see you right back here tomorrow morning. But until then, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.